Natasuis David Nis Kawankwatash Vanderhoop. Aquanaat Wampanaak. Nôepe. My name is David Two Arrows Vanderhoop, a Quina Wampanoag elder from the island of Nôepe, founder of Sassafras Earth Education along with my wife, Saskia Vanderhoop. I want to share with you 10 truths about the American Thanksgiving holiday and the United States origin story to bust the pervasive and harmful myths around it. In our home, we do not celebrate Thanksgiving. We call it the ungrateful taking. Truth number 1, acknowledging indigenous territory, aka our history does not start in 1621. We begin these 10 truths by acknowledging the indigenous territories and people of Turtle Island, a continent of villages, nations, and alliances between these nations. I acknowledge the Wampanoag territory of Nôepe, where I live. My people, the Wampanoags, have lived here for some 15,000 years. We have rich cultural, scientific, and spiritual practices, and for thousands of years, we thrived in regenerative living. If you are not an indigenous Turtle Islander, you live on stolen land. 98% is stolen. Truth number 2, Turtle Island was not an untouched wilderness. Pre-invasion, this land was a landscape of food forests, game parks, agricultural and aquacultural areas as a result of thousands of years of cultivating the land as stewards and mentoring generations in true reciprocal relationship with our mother, the earth. She took care of us and we took care of her. Turtle Island consisted of town and village sites, networks of roads and waterways, complex governments, advanced trading networks, and sophisticated relationship networks, both inside and between nations. Truth number 3, Pilgrims were not the first Europeans that we endured. Since the early 1500s, slavers raided our coastal villages. The Wampanoag people were well aware of the horrors these people were capable of and the threat they posed. When we noticed the Pilgrims were suffering through the winter, we helped them, as is our custom. We showed them how to live here. History tells us the story of how we were repaid for giving a hand. Pilgrims appeared to be fundamentalists and terrorists. Truth number 4, we were never friends. A friendly dinner with the Pilgrims is a deceitful representation of our relationship with white people. What actually happened is that the Pilgrims had a feast among themselves, celebrating the first successful harvest, shooting guns and cannons into the air. In response to that gunfire, Massasoit Usamiquin and 90 of his warriors made their way to the settlement in full warrior mode. Our people realized what was going on and remained suspicious. We set up camp a distance to keep an eye on the partying Pilgrims. In that contrived dinner imagery, we are portrayed in stereotypical ways as submissive and consenting, nameless creatures. This type of portrayal also trivializes our central role in American history. The Wampanoag alliance that was formed with the Pilgrims was violated 16 years after this alleged friendly dinner, extensive massacres swept our area. United States history is jammed with violated and broken treaties. Truth number 5. The original Thanksgiving days were post-massacre feasts. Thanksgiving Day celebrations in the 1600s and 1700s were proclaimed after each successful massacre. One of the earliest ones was in 1637 after the Pequot Massacre. Thanksgiving Day was proclaimed by the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony to thank their Almighty God after 700 men, women, children, and elders were clubbed to death, hewed to pieces, and burned alive. Truth number 6. Our current Thanksgiving holiday is a political construct. This holiday was not celebrated continuously for 400 years. In 1863, more than 200 years after the alleged dinner, President Lincoln issued a national day of Thanksgiving to unite a divided country after the Civil War. Much later, the U.S. government would consolidate the narrative of a harmonious Pilgrim Wampanoag feast, aka we have native friends. Truth number 7. The Doctrine of Discovery was conveniently made up in 1493, a year after the infamous first terrorist attack led by Mr. C. The Doctrine of Discovery is a spiritual, political, and legal justification for Christian European explorers' claims to land and waterways they allegedly discovered. It was created in Spain to promote Christian domination and white superiority and applied in Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and the Americas. Truth number 8. The American Holocaust is the largest in world history, killing 175 million indigenous people. 175 million indigenous people. The American Holocaust occurred between 1492 through 1900. It is the most sustained and largest Holocaust the world has ever seen, taking an incomprehensible amount of 175 million lives. The ongoing effects of the American Holocaust are the legacy of colonialism and contemporary institutionalized racism. Indigenous people are at the peak of every adverse statistic today. Truth number 9. The ungrateful taking holiday is a day of mourning for many indigenous people. PTSD kicks in each time an educated native like me hears or sees this false imagery, encounters an inflatable pilgrim, or someone says, "Happy Thanksgiving." I too grew up celebrating this holiday with my family. Later in life, I realized that this is a day of mourning for me. My youngest daughter requested a name change. We now call it the Ungrateful Taking. The new name represents a statement that we no longer go along. We request change. Truth number 10. We are still here. Indigenous people have persisted in the face of the most enduring and massive genocide on Earth. The genocide was created by design, and the inflictions continue today. And we are a strong people that will be here. You can support Indigenous people by bringing the truth to your dinner table. Another time, I'll talk to you about the many creative ways you can support Indigenous people. Katapatanamu.